Om Shanti. This word, Om Shanti, actually changes our energy, it changes our vibration, and we can feel that change within us when we practice Om Shanti. When I practice, I am a peaceful soul. So yesterday we started looking at the topic of God. And even though there is so much confusion within this particular topic, there is also a lot of clarity about God. If God didn't exist, then he wouldn't be mentioned throughout history, and he wouldn't be mentioned throughout the whole world. So we are going to discover more about God, and we really need to know as much as possible about God, because God, the being that is completely, that does not change at all. He remains the same throughout. He does not lose anything. He does not gain. He remains stable, unchanging, permanent. That unchanging energy, when I come into contact with that energy, when I'm in God's influence, when I've invited God, when I've invoked God into my life, that unchanging energy has the power to change me. Often we desire change, and what we tend to do is create superficial changes. We might change the decor of where we live. We might change our appearance, cut our hair, different fashion, different style. And we might say, I've heard many people say, I need a change. And so when they say, I need a change, they're referring to a change of scenery, a change of situation. That desire, that feeling of I need a change will continue to harass me until I start creating inner changes. I need to change myself internally to make the changes, make changes in my thoughts. Then there will not be this desire, this feeling, I need a change. Because what's happening? There is real change happening within, and that change brings a lot of contentment. It brings a lot of satisfaction, even the smallest changes. I remember when I used to drink normal milk and I changed to oat milk. And that change, that it was very simple, external change, but it made me feel so good, made me feel proud that I can do it. And so even the smallest changes that we can bring in our life, changes for the better, they will give us a great feeling of satisfaction. So, what we just said, God, the unchanging energy, has the power to change us. The influence of God's energy, vibration, because light has an energy, light has a vibration, light also has rays. And light doesn't restrict itself to the area that it's, supposing a torch is this size. But the torch light doesn't restrict itself to just that area, it spreads. So, in the same way, I, the soul, a being of light, my energy also spreads out there, but my energy fluctuates. My energy, the energy of human beings, is weak. And yet, when we connect with God's energy, God's rays, because He's a point of light, He also, His rays are stronger. Some of you may have heard of laser surgery. And so, what is the difference in normal light and laser light? Some of you may have watched a laser show. And the difference is laser energy or laser light is concentrated much, much more than normal light. It's concentrated. Some of you have heard of laser surgery, and nowadays, science or medicine, they can rectify the eyes with a laser surgery operation. And that operation takes literally, the actual operation takes literally 20 seconds. So think of that laser energy working on these physical eyes and rectifying our sight. In exactly the same way, God's laser like rays, they're much more powerful than laser even. God's laser like rays, when they penetrate or when they touch the being, then transformation happens. A lot can be rectified. The first thing that can happen, because that connection with God, it deals with past, present, future. So, how does it deal with the past? The connection with God, the Supreme Light, or Shiv Baba, his light touches the soul, and that light is able to burn the sins of the past. Any backlog that we have from previous births, any baggage that we're carrying, any hurts that we're carrying, any rubbish, any negativity that we're carrying, because we are carrying it within the soul, all of that needs to be burnt. It needs to be destroyed in such a way that it's not going to reappear. Sometimes what happens, you might go through a healing process and you might feel that you're healed, but somehow, somewhere, that baggage, that rubbish, the past which haunts us, it comes back and harasses us. But when I'm in contact with the Supreme, then God's light works on burning the past. How does God's light deal with the present? Well, that you will experiment for yourselves and see that just by spending a few minutes, a few moments of our valuable time in the company of the Supreme, then that has a lasting impact for a few hours. For example, when we eat, it has a lasting impact for a few hours. We're not hungry for the next few hours. When we have a shower, then we feel clean and good for a few hours. When we sleep, then for the next 8-10 hours, we feel fresh, we feel good. So, whatever I do, whatever any human being does, the impact lasts for a few hours. So, here also, when I meditate, and like I said earlier, like I said before, the earlier the better. Why do I keep emphasizing on the earlier the better? Because we are going to take the help of external atmosphere. The earlier I wake up, then the atmosphere is still calm, it's still peaceful. Traffic, email, the phone, rushing around, preparing lunch, that has not yet started. And the atmosphere of the city, the country, the place will assist me in my meditation. That's one help that I take, that the atmosphere out there is calm. The second help that we take when we meditate early in the morning is our mind. When I wake up, before I get caught up or before I get engrossed in other stuff, whilst the mind is still fresh, then sit to meditate, because whatever time you get up, your mind at that time is rested. From that moment on, then it starts creating lots and lots of thoughts. But those few moments in the morning, they have a great deal of importance, because my first few thoughts, or my first whatever it is that I listen to, whatever first interaction I have, that will set the tone for your whole day. Like I've seen and I've experienced it also, supposing you get up in the morning and you listen to a song on the radio. That song will play in your head the whole day, even if you don't like that song. It's been seen that whatever is the beginning, that will determine, that will set the tone, the mood for the day. So if you wake up late, supposing you have to go to work and you wake up late, so you feel stressed, you feel rushed, you feel all sorts of things, your tone for the day is set. The beginning matters. Look how much importance we give to the beginning. When it's New Year's Day, many people say, I've heard them say it, that whatever you do on New Year's Day, you'll be doing that for the rest of your life. For the rest of the year, sorry. The same applies to the beginning of the day. Whatever thoughts I create, whatever feelings I have, that will create my day. So now we want to look at the next slide on God. The more I am able to recognize God, then because of recognizing God, I've used the third eye to recognize God, to understand God, then the stronger, the deeper the relationship I can create with God. So many people have this question, well, God doesn't have a form, God doesn't have a shape, He doesn't have, a size or anything. So how can you remember just a point of light? So like I mentioned yesterday, we will remember Him in two ways. One is through relationship, and the second is through His qualities. Like you can see on the slide that is there in front of you, it's describing God. God is not physical. He is beyond the physical world, and He doesn't associate with the physical at all. That is why anything to do with God is called spiritual. It's not called physical, and it's not called materialistic. So when we're talking about the spiritual, some people I heard saying, I'm very spiritual, then it means their way of thinking, their access to a higher power is very much there. And so that is what we are going to do. We are accessing a higher power. That power is available to us 24/7. Very subtle but radiant. And a new word that you'll hear, incorporeal. There are two words. One word is corporeal and the other word is incorporeal. So corporeal refers to the physical. And the way to remember incorporeal and corporeal is the word corpse. That's how I remember it. The word corpse. Incorporeal, the body, the physical, the corpse is there. Something else about God that you might find that makes sense is that God is totally beyond praise and defamation. If somebody swears at God, if somebody lies to God, if somebody is angry with God, it does not bother him one bit. He will not get hurt or upset or feel insulted because he's that high energy and he's the highest energy. So he's beyond these things of praise and influence and defamation, etc. God also doesn't take birth, and because he doesn't take birth, then obviously he doesn't die. We actually need to go to the next slide to see how I can communicate, how I can spend time with God. The formula for meditation is in 3 words only. Even though it's in 3 words, I only need to concentrate on 2 of those words. The 3 words are inwards, upwards, and outwards. So there's a question coming in. Why do we say and talk about God as He? So I will look at that in a minute. But we're going to look at this formula: inwards, upwards, and outwards. The inwards we discussed the whole of last week. From Monday to Thursday, we only actually talked about the inwards. The soul is within the being, and within the soul, there is mind, intellect, and scars. So whatever is happening in the mind, intellect, and scars is actually my inner world. And you would see, if you look at your notes, there is so much happening within mind, intellect, and sanskar. Within our sanskars, we have 5 sets of sanskars. Within our sanskars, we have the 7 qualities of the soul. Within our sanskars, we have our memory. We have all the influences that are out there. It's all become part of us. It's all part of this big pot that is there, the soul. So we've looked at the inwards, my inner world, and the soul has the power, the ability, or you could say capacity, to work on its inner world. I remember somebody, Dari Janki, once said, she lives 90% inside and 10% out there. Means her focus is on herself. You may call that selfish. I don't call it selfish because we saw with our own eyes, because she was so focused on herself, she was able to help other people more effectively. She was able to help them in their process of transformation, to help them in different areas of their life. And so, if I'm focusing on myself, it is not called selfish. It is actually essential. And so, the inward, when I create the right thoughts internally, I am a peaceful soul, I am a child of God, I am a being of light. When I start creating such thoughts, my inner world changes a great deal, and there is something else which is happening. We want to connect with God, and we know God is very, very, very high up, and we wonder, can we reach Him? I'm going to give you two examples. The examples I'm going to give is a helicopter, which can also fly, and an aeroplane, which can also fly. Both have the ability to fly. I, the being, with the power of my thoughts, I also want to fly to that supreme abode, to that supreme region. So let's look at aeroplane and helicopter. Helicopter, wherever it lands, if you've noticed, it can just go up. It doesn't need a runway. It doesn't have to go like that. It just goes up. Helicopter cannot stay up as long as an aeroplane can. Aeroplane, if it has enough fuel, then it can go for 12 hours up there. And an aeroplane can hold many more passengers than a helicopter. Helicopter is limited, so it doesn't need a runway, but it can't stay up there as long as an aeroplane can. So now I have to decide, am I the helicopter or am I going to be that aeroplane? What I mean by aeroplane is an aeroplane needs a runway. It needs a couple of miles of runway, and then within that, it starts to pick up speed, and then you will see it goes like that, and it goes up very, very high. So what am I? Am I the helicopter? Doesn't need a runway. I just go up. Or am I the aeroplane that needs the runway and can hold many more passengers? Meditation is like the aeroplane. The runway is soul consciousness. The runway is where I am slowly, slowly creating the right thoughts. The right thought means I am becoming aware of myself as separate from the physical. I am becoming aware of myself as a spiritual being. Anything that you can think of about the soul, create that thought. I am eternal. I am on a journey. I am a traveler to this physical world. Anything that is associated with the soul. That will be your runway. And then within that, when I'm really focused, when I'm paying attention to my thoughts, automatically you will see, whilst being soul conscious, then it is natural, it is organic, it is automatic to become God conscious. Means I become aware of the one up above, and I'm able to stay there. The aeroplane has that staying power. So, what do I want? Soul consciousness leads to God consciousness. I am in this physical world. With the power of my thoughts, I become soul conscious, and it's the thoughts, like I said in one of the first sessions, we all know by now that our thoughts have the ability to travel. We are going to use this ability to travel. We're in the physical world and we become soul conscious, and then we travel. Consciously, I use the words. So, firstly is the soul consciousness, then the words come. I, with the power of my thoughts, leave this room and I am going higher and higher. I leave the sky also. The sky is down below and I have gone higher and higher. And because I am so aware of myself as the being of light traveling, I, the light, am attracted to a world of light. Beyond the sky, beyond outer space, there is a world called Nirvana. In that place of Nirvana, I enter. I enter that place. That is home. I have entered the dimension, another place called home. And within that home, I am attracted to, I am drawn to a more radiant light. That radiant light is my supreme parent. That radiant light is my spiritual parent. I am a child of God. And in this world of light, this world of silence, there is absolutely no action or sound. It's a place beyond sound. This is Nirvana. This is where my Shiv Baba's light exists. So there's two questions which have come up on the chat. One is, why do we show God's light to be oval shaped? And it's not just God's light that is shown as oval shaped, it is also the soul which is shown as oval shaped, or you could say egg shaped. Even though the soul is a point of light, light has a tendency to radiate. See, on a candle also, you'll see that wick in the candle, that's all that needs the matches, and it creates a flame, it creates a bigger shape. So light radiates. Light, not necessarily egg-shaped, but it spreads. You can say it's round also, whatever it is. But I need to be able to focus on that supreme being. And how do I focus? We need lots of different relationships with God, because human beings are never ever satisfied with one relationship. In one single day, how many relationships do we need? In the morning, there's a relationship of mother and child or husband and wife. Then when you go to work, relationship of colleague or a partner, or business partner, all of these things. If you have children, you have to drop the children to school, you have to get them ready, and then you might meet a friend for lunch. You might need to go and visit somebody in the evening, an auntie or an uncle or some grandmother or someone. So, in one single day, we actually have, we actually interact with lots of different relationships. We need that variety. If there is just one person in my life, day in, day out, for months and months and years on end, most of us, not all of us, would actually get bored. Even now, with lockdown, etc., happening, we want that human interaction. Any human being, not only do they need variety within the one day, but throughout their life, you will see a child, when it's born, it clings to its mother. It wants only the mother. It's only interested in the mother, doesn't like to go to other people. That same child, after 2 or 3 years, you will see it doesn't cling to the mother. It now has friends. It now has friends of its own age. And that's where its attention, its focus is. So even though the mother is there, she has not left the picture. She is very much part of the picture, but that child is interested in playing with his friends. The mother will call the child that, come, son, come, it's time for tea, it's time for dinner. But the child says, no, 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 I want to play with my friends. This is the same mother that he was clinging to a few years ago. That same child playing with friends grows older, and then he starts having what you would call a best friend, somebody that he gets on with more than others. Then that same child, as it grows older, then you will see a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend. It pays attention to one. So even though the mother is still in the picture, the friends are still in the picture, but now its attention is on that one partner, that one, either you could use the word spouse or whatever. Attention has changed, means our attention has changed throughout time. Then that same person who was clinging to the mother now gets married and has his own children. So, where does the attention go? The attention now goes towards the children. So, throughout life, you'll see there is so much variety within relationships. That by the time they're 50, they've gone through so many relationships. Human beings need variety because within each relationship, there is a different attainment. There is a different attainment in the relationship of mother, and the relationship of wife has a very different attainment. Even whilst we have all of those, mother, wife, etc., we still want the friend, we still need the teacher, we still need the guru. We need variety. And so, in the same way, so that I am not drawn towards human beings, God has the capacity to give me the attainment of each and every relationship. God has the capacity to give me strength, support, love, protection, providing. These are the things we attain within relationships. Why would God do that? Why would God give so much? Because God knows that when we turn to human beings, we want something from them. They are not able to give because they themselves are running on low. Or if they give, it's with a condition that I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. I'll give you respect if you give me the respect back. And so, to save ourselves from sorrow, because within relationships, there's a lot of sorrow. So, God offers Himself that you can have whatever relationship you want with me. I can be your mother, I can be your father, I can be your teacher, I can be your guide, I can be your guru, I can be your brother, I can be whatever relationship you need. I can be your bodyguard, I can be your secretary, I can be your cook. But if I'm going to say to God, or if I'm going to enter a relationship, then I also have to fulfill my part of the relationship. Means, for example, if I say God is my mother, then how would I be as a child? I have to not be that naughty child, but what kind of mannerisms, what kind of behavior, what kind of responsibilities, what kind of rights do I have as a child? The mother doesn't look at the faults of the child. She overlooks many things. And so those who are mothers who are listening, they would know that if the child is dirty, they don't look at the dirt. They just look at how they're going to clean up that child. And so the one easy way to remember God is through relationships. Another way to remember God is through His qualities, His virtues. So supposing He has the quality of love, He has the quality of bliss, He has the quality of peace, He has all the virtues. But He is the ocean of the virtues. I think the reason why we use the word He, because He represents authority, He represents, we're living in a, what do you call it, very male dominated society. So maybe that's why we say for God He, but if you want, you can call Him she. It's up to you. God actually doesn't have a gender, but it seems disrespectful to use the word it. If I'm not saying he and I'm not saying she, I'll say it. Doesn't feel right to say God is an it. So the qualities, whatever quality I need, supposing I need patience, where will I get it from? Do other human beings have patience to give to me? Is it possible for human beings to give qualities to other human beings? God only has three things to offer. I can have a variety of relationships with God, but God doesn't have, like some people pray to God because they want a good husband. He doesn't have a stock of good husbands that I can pick and choose. Some people pray to God because they want to pass their exams. Some people pray to God because it's routine or ritual or that's the way they've been taught. Whatever I need, the three things that God can give are knowledge, power, and virtue. Knowledge, virtues, and powers. In our future lessons, we will be talking about power. Today, we're going to talk about virtues. God, Shiv Baba, in his virtues, he is like the ocean, means he will not run out. Human beings will run out. They will run out of peace, they will run out of patience, they even run out of happiness, they run out of love, means they become dried up of these qualities. They're giving but not feeling that we're getting anything in return for what we're giving out there. And so the qualities, the virtues are like an ocean. He is not an ocean in size, but he is like the ocean. And so the slide has come up. Remember yesterday we said we wanted a formal introduction. So Shiv Baba, point of light, and that point of light is like the light of a candle. It has an aura. Any light has an aura. So it's not that I'm remembering a tiny point of light, I'm actually thinking of the whole aura, the whole energy. God in his qualities is like an ocean. Now, the next slide is, what is God's power? Means what is God capable of doing and not doing? Because many people feel there's so much suffering in the world. Where is God within all of this? Today we're going to look at what is God's power. God's power is not that he can bring the dead back to life. All of you are seeing what's happening in India. People are dying. Yet God does not have the power to bring the dead to life. What can we do with God is we can communicate with God. The form or the mode of communication is thoughts. God can hear our thoughts. And this is why it's very important to create the right thoughts. Thoughts are necessary to communicate with God. But when I communicate with God, it's not that I am doing all the talking. I say a little bit, slow down, there's a gap in between, then I say my next sentence. Why do I need that gap in between? It's so that I can listen to God. Don't forget, it's a relationship, and both can talk in the relationship. I can speak up, and God can also speak up. And so, within a relationship, the first thing that is essential is communication. I know that when people go for marriage guidance counseling, then what do they find is the cause for the breakdown of the marriage is actually a breakdown in communication. Throughout the day, even though I've meditated in the beginning of the day, throughout the day, communicate with Shiv Baba, that highest power. Communicate means tell God with your thoughts what is happening in your inner world. Tell him what you're feeling. Tell him what's going on. Now you might think, well, God knows anyway, because there's expression, God knows. So we think that I don't need to tell God because he knows. Yes, he does know. But what is he wanting from me? He wants to test, or he wants to see what kind of honesty level I have. Is it that when I'm telling God or talking or communicating with God, am I just telling Him the good things that I've done? Are we forgetting to tell Him the mistakes we have made? Maybe we raised our tone to somebody. Do I tell God that, this happened? So, talking, spending time with God and communicating, and then you will receive an answer in return. Earlier, I said that God's non changing energy has the ability to change us. The transformation that happens, that takes place, it's not that you feel you've done a hard work. It's natural, it's organic, it's just happens because I have accumulated power. When you transform, you will feel as if you are gaining out of it 100%. Because the one who is giving power, he gives it in the form of an inheritance. He doesn't give it with any strings attached, but he gives love, he gives happiness, he gives bliss, he gives peace, he gives all of these qualities in the form of an inheritance. An inheritance means it is something that I am entitled to. I don't have to beg for an inheritance. It's automatic. Even if somebody hasn't written a will, it's understood that the parents' property and wealth will go to the child. So if God is my father and my communication is clean and clear, then I'm entitled to receive God's power and virtues in the form of an inheritance. I'm not begging, please, I need peace, please, please give me happiness. No, I am happiness. I am so. The other thing that is there within God's power is that feeling of security. That God is my protector, provider, bodyguard, you name it. God can be that for me. God's power is such that He also takes care of our future. He takes care of the past, the present, He's giving me power, and with that power, I am changing my thoughts, words, and feelings. Means I am changing the seed. And if I've changed the seed, then naturally, obviously, I will get according to the quality of the seed that I have sown. Next, we need to look at what is his occupation? What does he do all day long? And so he has jobs that he needs to do. One of God's first tasks, or his main task, you would say, if we look at the next slide, his main task is purification. The only way means whatever I'm taking from God, qualities, power, and knowledge, these three things, the purpose of it all is to purify the soul. I'm filling myself at the same time I am being purified. So we will look at this aspect of purification again and again. The purer I become, the lighter I will feel. The purer I become, the stronger I will feel. Then the next three words that you can see on the slide, God is called the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. So there's a question that's come in. Why was this vast universe created? Are there other beings? Okay. So we'll look at that later. God's task: creator, sustainer, and destroyer. Within certain devotion, within certain types of devotion, like for example, within Christianity, they talk of the Trinity. They talk of God, I forget what it is, but they talk of the Trinity. And within Hindu Bhakti also they talk of a Trinity called Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar. And the role of Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar is two. One is the creator, second is the sustainer, and third is the destroyer. So what does God create? What does he sustain? And what does he destroy? Yes, so somebody's written the answer: the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So creator means he creates a pure, beautiful world for us. Means the stage is abundant. There's nothing lacking. See, I said that in a previous session, I'd said 3 things are eternal. Means they're never destroyed: soul, God, and the stage. The stage means this physical earth where I play my part. And this is the only planet where there is life. This is the only planet means where I get oxygen and I give out carbon dioxide. If you look at the other planets, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, etc., there is no, the right gases are not there for human beings. God is the creator. He creates a beautiful world for us. He creates heaven for us. He doesn't live in heaven. He is called Heavenly God the Father because that is what he creates. And he also sustains that. Then why the word destroyer? In order to create heaven, a brand new world, he has to destroy the old. So these 3 tasks, it's like, for example, the best example I can give is God is the Prime Minister and he's got many ministers to do his work. So within devotion, the mention of Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar, some of you might have heard of that, they're like his ministers, but he is the supreme Shiv Baba, that being of light, incorporeal, and at the same time, the ocean of knowledge, the ocean of peace, the ocean of what I, the soul, need. Whatever I, the soul, need is within the Supreme Soul. Whatever I, the physical, needs is within this physical world. So both have separate needs, the soul and body, and yet they are both available. One is called Mother Earth, and God is called God the Father. So we need to have, let's say we've had an introduction, the things that we've discussed so far, then a relationship. It's like supposing you're organizing your daughter's wedding. You're organizing your daughter's wedding and you have to send out invitations. Who will you remember first on your list of invitations? You will remember those who are closest to you. You remember relationships. And so I've received the introduction of God. Now I need to form a relationship with God. And it's not that I'm going to have the relationship of mother the whole week. No. Mother in the morning, a friend in the daytime, father maybe in the evening. Vary it, otherwise you will get bored. Have various relationships with God throughout the day. Make him whatever you want him to be. I remember when I first started living in the center, then my biggest issue was getting up early in the morning. So I said to Baba, Baba, can you please be my alarm clock? And I would specify what time I wanted to get up. And believe it or not, my eyes would open a few minutes before the time I'd asked Baba to wake me up. So my relationship with God, my first relationship with God, is that He is my alarm clock. And then you can make life as interesting, as entertaining, as beautiful as you want it. He can be your chef, he can be your secretary, he can be whatever you want. Earlier I was speaking about a plane and a helicopter. A plane needs two drivers. A car, one driver is enough. But a plane cannot go with just one pilot. So you have the captain and the co-pilot. In the same way, if I want, I can invite God into my life and I have to give him, if I'm going to invite him, then I have to give him a good seat. So I'm inviting the Supreme Being and I'm going to give him space right next to me. I, the soul, am giving space. I'm inviting and say, come and sit next to me. Come, I will give you my own seat. Come and sit here. Now you've got two souls, Supreme and yourself. So what are you going to do? In a plane, there is the co-pilot and the captain. Both are there. Which one is the higher position? Naturally, captain. So if I'm inviting God into my life and asking him to sit next to me, do I want him to be the co-pilot or do I want him to be the captain? I have a choice. So I say to God, I say to Baba, Baba, you're the captain. I will take instruction. Experiment with all the different relationships you want with God. You can make him into your child. He can be whatever you want so that you don't lack anything, so that you're not short of any attainment. He will be whatever I want him to be. And so there's the introduction, and then after the introduction, we form a relationship. One thing that is there in every relationship is love, be it mother and child or husband and wife. It's different flavors of love. And then there is the attainment. If my co-host can go to, not the next slide, but the one after that, and then we can finish today's session. So what are the benefits of connecting with God? First benefit that you've all experienced is calm. You will feel calm. When you start to meditate, you will feel a sense of calm overcome you. Within that calm, we learn to create pure thoughts. We learn to create positive, powerful thoughts. Our creative energy comes. Whatever we create, we need to concentrate on that. So if I create the thought, I am a being of light, then I concentrate on it for a few seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It's like within physical yoga, they stay in one posture for 20 seconds. All of these pure positive thoughts are posture, and I have to stay in that posture for a while. So after the concentration, you will receive a lot of clarity. That clarity will give you the power to discern a situation, to discern a person. Clarity gives us the power to make decisions. Then there's a feeling of contentment, because ultimately that's what we want at the end of the day. Why are we content? Because there is a constant flow of energy coming from the Supreme to me. That current is continuous. I'm going to end here. And because we did our meditation in the middle of the session, so now we'll just do a very short meditation, and we're going to work on finding what relationship I want with the Supreme. Anything that I lack, God can give me. If I'm lacking that others are not respecting me, others are not, taking my feelings into consideration, within relationship, these things happen. Whatever I need, whatever I, the soul, need, I get from the Supreme Soul. That is my relationship with God. So I will close here, and I'll meet you all tomorrow. There's a question which I've always had, is how do I know I have recognized God? How do I know I have recognized God? I'll give you the answer because I don't want to leave you on a cliffhanger. If I have recognized God, the proof of recognition is within all the relationships that we have, my ability to give increases. Recognition of God means I'm able to connect with God, draw power, and the power that I draw, it increases my capacity to give in each relationship. Otherwise, we find it very difficult to give in relationships. We have to give time, we have to give respect, we have to give, all sorts of things, give love. But then it becomes natural because the formula inward, upward, outward. And so we will also be talking about the outward as well in our next lesson. Om Shanti.